Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 332. My name is John Morgan. Cole Coffee is not with me today. He did not make the trip out here to Houston, Texas, but instead we've got a very esteemed panel here in the World MMA Award nominated Oscar Willis. Not just the Mac Life gets nominated. We're talking about a Journalist of the Year nominee in the flesh.
Yep, I have exceeded my peers, and I am the best in the business now.
And humble about it too, and that's what's so great about it, to be honest with you. And of course, for the first time since joining the MMA Junkie team, it is Assistant Managing Editor Matthew Wells. Matt, it's good to have you. A guest before, it's been a while, but now part of the team. And hell, we're getting back to kind of normal a little bit. You can actually travel, come to an event. This is right down the road from Dallas, so it's good to have you here, man.
Yeah, man. It's even weirder that I'm not driving to Houston too. So that was a little bit different.
Oh, that's right. Now you're on the junkie budget.
Yeah,
we don't got a lot of money, but we can at least put you on a plane and not make you drive. You know what I mean? It's a step up in the game.
Get used to this kind of stuff. I
like it, man. Well, it's been good having you on the team, and glad to have you here tonight. We're here, of course, to cover UFC 265. We'll jump right into it, but first, I want to give a big shout out to the official sponsor for this week, Bobby Holmes, and his Texas Prickly Pear Moonshine, Texas Sunshine. This is, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit intimidated.
I enjoyed the southern twang on moonshine.
You got the little moonshine in there. It's so this is Texas Prickly Pear Cactus Distilled Spirit. It comes from Hill Country Distillers, and Bobby was actually he's nice enough to reach out to me. He says, so this is only made in Texas, and I guess they can't really ship it to Nevada, but he wanted to try. And then when he heard we were coming down here, he's like, hey man, do you mind if I just ship you over a bottle? He reached out. I was like, yeah, what is it? He's like, I really want you to try this stuff. He's like, it's moonshine. Again, that word kind of intimidates you a little bit. It's moonshine that's made, and then he put in parentheses, professionally and legally, by the way, by a family member, and it's only sold in Texas. On the bottle here, it's this is not like anything you've ever had before. If you like vodka or tequila, we bet you will like our Texas Sunshine Prickly Pear Cactus Spirit. It has a crisp, clean taste that you just have to try. And I'm just going to man up and admit it. First, I'll just admit that we all kind of had a bit of a rough night last night, we'll just say. Beverages were flowing in Houston, Texas last night, all around.
Some of us might have had rough mornings.
There were some people that had some rough mornings. So that was part of it. And then, but, again, you hear that moonshine. I'm not going to lie. Even a couple of, distinguished gentlemen like ourselves were a little bit intimidated. He recommended mixing it with an orange juice. That's how he does. So I went and got some orange juice. And I got to say, it's going down pretty smooth, man. It's going down pretty smooth.
I agree. I mean, this is the first time I think maybe in my life that a drink's been sitting in front of me for 6 minutes without me trying it. But I eventually manned up, and it's very nice actually. It's quite sweet.
Yeah, I dig it. So shout out for that. We really appreciate it. Bobby looking out for us, and thank you to his family members and friends over there at Hill Country Distillers. All right. We just wrapped up over at the press conference for UFC 265. I will say, listen, 10 people is a lot of people for a press conference. There's a lot of people for a press conference. But I will say, when I show up, even though, I won't say I'm dreading going to the press conference, but it's just 10 people is tough to make sure everybody's engaged, make sure you're getting, answers from people, all that. But I will say, when I got there and you see that big stage, man, you see the big setup and all that, it does – I don't know. It still feels pretty cool, and I don't know. I think it was that had to be the arena's basketball announcer for the Rockets or something that was doing the intros that was bringing them in. So I don't know. It wasn't the highest energy press conference of all time, but I don't know, Matt. What did you take anything? Just one nugget away or a feel overall from today?
I mean, it's just kind of fitting the whole vibe of the week. It seemed right, from the amount of people that were in the crowd, because here in Harris County right now they're on freaking red level COVID threat, so right. I don't know if that prevented people from coming out and filling out the stands more.
Almost certainly not, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm being optimistic as possible here. I'm going to say that's the reason why. But yeah, there weren't that many people, fans out there, but it's just a chill vibe, and I think that was kind of the giveaway when it's hey, we got 10 people up here. because we know that our main event and our co-main event won't say much.
Yeah, lost the co-main event. Of course, he was supposed to have the women's go there.
That would have got the fans out in droves.
Well, I'm just saying that's was part of their decision making. Yeah, and I guess it should be said that we still got one half of our original co-main event in the press conference today, right? We didn't get Amanda Nunes, but look who showed up to stir the pot a little bit. Juliana Pena actually got on the mic as a journalist, if you will. And it's funny because I actually thought that she was going to ask like Michael Chiesa something, like throw something out at Chiesa, her teammate, and so that's what I thought was going to happen. Instead, she kind of, Dana, when we getting this fight going? When we're getting this fight going? That was, it may have fallen a little bit flat, but
he even gave her the fucking line. We'll see how this plays out.
He's like, now you know what it's like to be us.
Yeah. He just fucked her off.
He's like, Juliana, we don't do matchmaking at pre-fight press conferences.
Dude, he was not that far away from me. Like, who are you?
No, you stop it. As soon as she walked into the mic, he turned over to see her the next question. He saw her at the microphone. He was like, uh-oh. He knew it was going to. I guess I thought she was just going to play with Chiesa or something. Instead, she was like, hey, I heard she tested negative. Get her on a plane. Let's go.
I liked the move, though. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, but it just didn't hit.
It did.
The crowd.
It fell a little flat. But you recommend, I respect the effort. I respect the hustle.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm shitting on it but because it fell a bit flat. But actually, that's what I would like to see, more inventive ways of fighters trying to just get in there and promote themselves a little bit. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Just fucking sucked.
Can always count on Oscar for a little bit of negativity. It's always good. All right, let's talk about the main event. First of all, I mean, clearly Derrick Lewis played big, right? I mean, everybody loved. I mean, you can tell how beloved he is, and man, they were really showing, the pre-fight packages. We were sitting there waiting, and they were showing all the pre-fight stuff. I guess kind of even I had forgotten like how really involved in the community he is. I mean, I know we've seen the stories of like when him going out and helping with the hurricane relief, and I mean, who could ever forget the one of helping the guy with the Confederate flag? You know what I mean? That's a mad story. But you see, I think you saw a lot of that in that pre-fight video. His friendship with Trey the Truth and what they what they've done together. Pardon me. So I guess I kind of forgot maybe just how involved he is and beloved here, but man, the crowd was, you could tell they loved it. And Derrick, it's so funny how he does it, because I don't know about you guys, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think he's the easiest interview to get. As funny as he is and engaging as he is, like, he's always given that vibe of like he's kind of disinterested and like he doesn't really be there. So I honestly don't find him like the easiest guy to interview, even though I do think he's such a nice guy and a funny guy. But even in his very like calm, not long answers, kind of disinterested kind of way, he still found a way to be a hit today. Yelling at the French guy and saying, "Hey, quick wit as always. Pardon my French, but f you and f him." That was good, and just he had a couple of one-liners, and he even took a shot at Mark Raimondi, who got the things popping off between Angela Hill and Tisha Torres, and Derrick's like, "You started this. Why did you do this?" So I don't know. It was Derrick Lewis shine.
My favorite part about that, when he pointed that out, like it didn't even stop the flow of what was going on. they just kept on back and forth.
Someone put a comment being like, the trash talk between Tisha and Andrew is like your two drunk friends at 2 a.m. arguing. Like, it's like, pretty much.
Not a bad comparison.
I think Derrick Lewis, it's funny you said about him being an interview. Like, I get quite lucky because you deal with like the fight-related questions first, and then I get to ask him like fucking dumb shit. He's really good about that. I think it depends, but I wouldn't disagree. Like when you ask him to talk about fighting, he can be quite just like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it seem like I don't like the guy or he's difficult, but that those answers. But it's like I have to do it. It's part of my job. I have to ask it. But you're not going to get much response. He's
sort of like slowly, against his wishes, becoming a bit of a star.
Right.
Like he's really. I don't know about you guys. His numbers do fantastic for us.
Really good.
Like really good compared to some of the bigger names. And I feel he sort of has this reluctant, like almost anti-hero vibe to him. If you want.
So on the flip side of that is Ciryl Gane, who of course is a very very quiet guy. I mean, look, polite. Joe. I mean, let's deal. He is dealing with a bit of a language gap. Like he does speak English, but it's not his first language, and he's getting better at it. I will say, and dude, this needs to happen more often. This needs the moonshine. You got a little hit of that moonshine. It's smooth, baby. It's smooth, but it'll still sneak up on you.
Just gotta.
It's still there, bro.
Just hit me.
You got the prickly part of that pear. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what happened. No, but so I just wanted to point this out because I think this is something. And again, this is like super like inside baseball behind the scenes, but this is something the UFC needs to do. So it's Fernand Lopez, who we all know is the coach of Ciryl Gane, former coach of Francis Ngannou, MMA Factory Paris. He actually had a microphone with him. He was sitting right in front of me and Matt down there on the floor. And Ciryl Gane had an earpiece in. And so every time Ciryl was asked a question, Fernand was translating into French so that he was getting the question in French at the same time. Also, anytime Derrick Lewis was giving an answer, he was translating that into French too so that Ciryl would understand what Derrick was saying. And I don't know like who came up with this because we also had Portuguese there that this was not being done. We had Chinese there that was not being done. So I don't know if this was like Fernand's idea or Cyryl's idea or the UFC was just like, hey, we can do this. But whoever's idea it was, we need more of that because it made it so much more seamless. And again, maybe most people watching a press conference or most people listening to this don't care. But I can just tell you that made the experience far more enjoyable.
I will say that it was handy that he got to answer in English, right? Because if he was still answered in his native tongue, I won't even say the name of this country. But if he answered in French, then
it wouldn't make sense, right?
It still needs stuff. But I do think it's it's like it halves the translation time at least. You know?
Yeah, it's a good thing. All right, so let's talk about the fight itself because I'm just gonna lay it out there, man. It's for me, my head is picking Ciryl Gane, man. I feel like he's the right pick here. I mean, obviously it's not like any big surprise. You look at the odds; he's a massive favorite. But I think that's right. But it's so weird because Derrick Lewis, I mean, one of the few guys, right, that he could be losing literally 24 minutes and 50 seconds and he can land one shot. There's so few guys that have that ability. And listen, he is fighting in his hometown. He's going to have that Houston support. And we always talk about that. Like, how much does you got that support? I mean, is the fact that Ciryl Gane is being booed, is that going to make his jab less effective, or is that what I mean? Like, I do have one thing because we know Ciryl Gane's strategy is going to be right, stay away, stick him. I mean, we've seen it. We've already seen it. I will say one thing that I am interested to see if the crowd plays a part at all is those other performances were at the apex. There's no. So I commended Ciryl in those performances, even though I didn't think they were the most exciting. I commended him that he was able to stay that disciplined and committed to a game plan and like not waver from it, no matter what. Like stick to it. I think he's just very, I guess, mentally strong in that way and believes his coaches and is committed to the game plan. And I think that's a good thing. But if 17,000 people are booing you, does that change things a little bit? So I say all that to say that I believe I picked Ciryl here in this fight. I believe, technically speaking, it's the smart play. If I was gambling, if I was putting some money on it, I'd probably like that nice underdog money with Derrick Lewis, right? Because he can lose the whole fight until he knocks you out. What's your take on this fight, man?
No, man, it's tough to pick because it's like it's one of those things where everything says this is going to be like the Jairzinho fight for Gane again. Like it's just going to be like that sort of thing where
Don't
it's just
put that
like
evil on us.
I mean, that's how I see it going, man. I see him like pressuring him against the fence as Derrick just kind of circles around and tries to find a counter shot here and there, but unless if he finds that one real big opening to land a knockout punch, I just don't see it being all that exciting of a fight. Ideally, I would like to see Derrick come out with a lot of pressure in the first round and try to make something happen in the first couple of minutes. If it doesn't happen, then we're going to get another 15, 20 minutes of just...
But maybe come out with one big charge just to see if you can get it done right away.
Well, he always throws the switch kick at the beginning, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's always incredibly effective.
It gets the people going.
That gets the people going. It's good at that.
I think the thing about like Ciryl, and it's interesting you say about the booze and stuff. I think anytime a French person has the opportunity to upset other people, they'll take it. So I think he doesn't mind that at all. If anything, that gives them strength. I think Cyril's like a pretty intelligent person, and I think he knows he's going to get booed, and I think he's actually, even today at the presser, he got booed, and he sort of mockingly was like, oh my gosh. So I don't think that's going to affect his performance, perhaps, unfortunately. I think what will be interesting is if Derrick just, because Derrick's going to be following him around. I can just see, very evasive techniques from Ciryl, and I wonder if Derrick will start playing up to it and start, trying to motion the crowd like, oh, fuck this guy and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting. I think everything about this fight sort of says 25-minute technical outpointing by Ciryl, so I'm picking Derrick by knockout.
Because in heavyweight MMA, it's crazy to have it. Yeah, it's funny because inside, the bottom line, in my heart, I want to see Derrick win. First of all, for the Houston fans, it would be amazing. It'd be like just the Cinderella scenario, and Derrick as UFC champion.
Can you imagine, dude, if he was losing 24 minutes and fucking got him at the end, the crowd would go insane.
It'd be amazing.
Jesus.
And just him being a champ and, kind of the irreverent way that he would be about it. I love that quote where he's like, if I'm a champ, you guys are, how'd y'all let me be champ? What's wrong with you? And I love, how about today, they did the face-off and Dana was holding the belt. And I think Dana kind of messed up and because that's what you normally do, right?
Gave it to Derrick.
He started to give it to him because that's what you do, right? He holds it and then you give it to the champ to put on. And I think he was just and then oh wait, you're not. And Derrick's like, nope, I'm taking that belt, and he held it high. So we at least have pictures of Derrick on stage holding the belt, whether he becomes champ or not. But I don't know. I think that would be the beautiful Cinderella story. I'd love to see it. I mean, like you said, he's a character. He's becoming a star, but. This is what I wanted to know. What's the bigger fight moving forward with Ngannou? Is it? I mean, it seems weird, right? The rematch of the fight that we all thought would be amazing. That was one of the worst in history. Which I do believe there's no way that fight could play out the same way. Or is it the bigger one of the former training partner and all that backstory?
It's the bigger fight is Derrick because Derrick's bigger than Ciryl. The training partner and the French thing, that's the French thing. I mean, them fighting in Paris is what the French thing means. That's intriguing and it's a good backstory, but Derrick's the bigger star, so that's the fight. I think
that's the one that would sell more.
Out of me, I'd like to see Derrick versus Ngannou because, like you said, I can't imagine the first fight was like a calamity of crazy circumstances that made it, terrible.
Right.
It wouldn't be like that again. So I want to see that. And also, I said to you earlier today, I feel like Ciryl can lose and then win one more fight and be a title contender. I don't feel like Derrick can lose and still get a title shot right away.
Like one of those last hurrahs.
I don't know why that is, but for some reason it just feels like Derrick is he couldn't take the loss right now.
Yeah, I mean it's probably like that because Derrick doesn't necessarily care about the title even.
Right.
So he'll just be like, all right, y'all got somebody, cool, I'll show up and just fight.
Yeah.
I mean it's an interim title and he doesn't seem to care at all. He's like, I'm gonna be here in front of my
Which
fans.
is weird, right? Because he's always about. He says openly, he's like, I do this for money and stuff. Which
exactly.
The interim title gives him pay-per-view points on the Gane fight,
right.
which I actually think that's a big fight.
I think it's a huge fight.
I think that's an underestimated fight.
I think that's the bigger fight. You're right about that. I always get the sense with Derrick, the reason he says he doesn't care about the title is that thing where I don't know, it's like a fear of failure or whatever, but when you don't put expectations on, if you're just like, oh, I'm just here having a good time, man, whatever. It's then you don't put that pressure of oh my God, I have to deliver right now. I feel coping mechanism might be the wrong way to say it, but
I noticed he said the other day that he hates fighting here.
Right.
He didn't want this fight here, and he felt the pressure. So I think you're absolutely right. I know it just sort of stuck out to me. He's like, "Oh no, there's a lot of pressure." It's like, fuck.
It'd be interesting. I mean, obviously, Gane and Ngannou in France would be amazing. Obviously, finally getting there, but who knows? What's going on with that right now? It did just occur to me though. If what we think could happen, although you don't officially pick that, is that it's a 25-point technical, or 25-minute, I should say, technical outpointing type performance. Could Gane go do that to Ngannou too? And then I
don't know because I think Ngannou's so quick, so crazy, and also they spar together. I'm sure he's seen it before. I feel like Ngannou could probably close the gap a bit more effectively than Derrick.
Right.
But I actually just thought that is this Derrick's first potentially his first 25 minutes? Has he ever gone 25 minutes before? I'm sure he's been main event before.
Yeah,
but
he's been main event before, but I don't think he's ever gone 25.
So when you said I'd like to see him come out explosive, I wonder if he can even do that, right? Because if he comes out crazy in the first round, rounds 4 and 5 look pretty miserable for him,
Yeah, I was wondering to see if it was ever one on his regional career that he had done. I mean, he did go into the 4th round with Shamil Abdurakhimov back in that was 2016. Mm-hmm. He went into the 4th round with Mark Hunt as well. Yeah,
that was the night before the Toronto pay-per-view.
Yeah, that was.
Eesh.
Was not.
He went 4 rounds with Mark Hunt.
Yeah, that was in Auckland. So
he lost that fight, didn't he?
He did lose that fight. So you're right. He hasn't gone the full 5. So we'll see how that plays out. I am, like I said, I'm leaning towards Gane. That was my official pick, but if I had a couple of bucks, so I was going to throw it down on it, I think I'd take that underdog money. Derrick Lewis with that kind of power, that kind of underdog money, I would.
I think it's great. It's so stupid to like have odds that far apart in a heavyweight
fight,
and especially Derrick Lewis.
In MMA,
it's what he does. It's stupid. So
crazy. We'll see how it plays out. So if you're going to wager on it, definitely do that. You know what you guys do? You could go over to DraftKings is what you could do. UFC 265 is this weekend. Every punch, kick, and knockout means so much more with the DraftKings lineup on the line. DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of UFC, is giving you a shot at huge cash prizes. For this weekend's fight, DraftKings is offering all customers a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. If you haven't tried it yet, Fantasy MMA is easy to play. Just pick 6 fighters, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for advances, takedowns, and more. I don't know if they give you bonus points for how much prickly pear moonshine you drink with it, but they should. And I'm proud of you, Oscar, for trying to earn those extra points right now. Plus, don't forget about professional baseball and the games in Tokyo, where DraftKings has even more money up for grabs throughout the week. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Don't miss out on all the action UFC 265 with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of UFC. Download the DraftKings app and use promo code FROSTY for your shot at millions of dollars in total prizes throughout the week. That's promo code FROSTY to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. All right, co-main event of the evening. Listen, you kind of touched on it. I think, Matt, you kind of mentioned like that's kind of the theme of this week, right? Is that like there's a lot of great fights here. Talking about odds, I was looking at the odds list. I mean, you look at the rest of the main card: Jose Aldo, Pedro Munoz, Michael Chiesa, Vicente Luque, Angela Hill, Tisha Torres, Casey Kinney, Song Yudong. It's damn near all pick'ems. Like the biggest favorite in there is Tisha Torres at minus 140. Angela Hill, a minor underdog at like plus 110.
Tisha's only minus 140.
I'm telling you. Casey Kinney, a minus 120 with Song Yudong at plus 100. Chiesa Luque, a dead-on pick'em. Aldo Munoz, a dead-on pick'em in some places, depending on where you look, or maybe Aldo as a slight favorite, depending on where you look. But it's interesting, right? And it's funny because sometimes I complain about the over-dramatization of some of the pre-fight build-up to things that we have, or even post-fight play-outs that we have sometimes. This one doesn't have that, but it's got some damn quality fights, So this co-main event, Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz. Matt, how are you feeling about this one? Because I think this is an interesting one. Like, I'll be honest. I hate to say it, but like I feel like I keep wanting to write Jose Aldo off. You know what I mean? I keep wanting to feel like it's over, but like he's still staying there right at the top. He's fighting some tough ones. This is that Brazil versus Brazil matchup that we're getting in there. So, what did you think about the co-main event itself and anything you saw from these guys this week?
Again, like you said, love the fight. It's not necessarily like the biggest, like in terms of like hype or anything like that,
right.
But I love the fight and how it could potentially play out. I think it's a fantastic matchup. I love the idea of what Jose Aldo said at the media day yesterday.
Conor McGregor could become champion again.
Yeah,
that
was a fantastic point. Yes, but also the fact that he wants TJ Dillashaw next. So I'm like, hey, you better go out there and win this fight right now.
Ooh,
because I want to see that fight.
Dude, there's a couple of there's actually a few legacy fights for Aldo at 135. Like Frankie's there. I'd love to see that. TJ's there. Dominic Cruz is there. There's a few. I don't think TJ's going to take it. I think TJ's getting the title shot, right? Like, I don't see him fighting Aldo.
And it's going to be a while, right?
Possibly, yeah.
So
it's one of those things. But, I mean, if he wins, he's got a world of options available. I mean, either way, win or lose. I mean, he's fighting Pedro Munoz, who can just knock anybody's block off, too. So it's going to be hard to see, like, it's hard to predict this one and how it could play out. But hopefully, and my prediction becomes correct, or my pick becomes correct, that I picked Jose Aldo to win, just because I want to see what happens next. Because if he gets that TJ Dillashaw fight somehow, some way, if he doesn't get that title shot, it'd be an amazing fight. But Aldo would also be on that short list as well for a title shot somehow, some way. Because, the UFC loves to give former champions title shots
I think
like it's nothing.
John said something there interesting. It's like, I'm kind of always waiting to write off Jose Aldo. And it's for me, too. It's like, I'm waiting for the loss that's like signifies the Jose Aldo experience has ended, And we're never quite there. I mean, I feel like if he lost this one, I'd be like, well, that's him as a top contender done.
Right.
But if he wins this, I mean, like you said, he's right up there. Like for a time,
That'd be an amazing fight. Like I said, I don't know if TJ would take it right now because I think TJ does believe that he's earn the right, to fight for the title. But people feel very strongly about that one way or the other. That's one thing I learned in the return of TJ Dillashaw. There are some people that are just like,
but his performance was so
that guy.
His performance was so good. So it's like, how can you deny that?
I mean, look, the guy came clean, okay? So he's ready to go. And by that I mean he got caught. But
there's a lot of people that get frustrated about that. I've seen a lot of people like, you can't give him credit for coming clean. Like there are people that got mad. You should see some like the emails and stuff that we got. It was crazy.
Really?
Oh my God! People were just like, what? Yeah. It's people with a lot of time on their hands, but still, I do love that. So this, it's funny. I actually picked Aldo in this one as well. I'm probably just as guilty as anybody of criminally underrating Pedro Munoz. I've been high on him, but you put him in a matchup like this, and I'm like, well, Aldo is performing well, and it is funny. It does seem like that weight cut is not an issue for him anymore. He said, Dana said he should be at 35 forever. He never wanted to do it. Now he feels like great here. Like I was scared to death when he first went to 35. I'm like, there's no way this man is going to make it, but he seems relatively okay, and I
mean, if we've seen guys like Pettis. Remember when Pettis went down to featherweight, and that was a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen guys where obviously the cut is just too crazy for them that they don't do it again. They don't want to say like, oh, that was too much, but they just don't do it again. Obviously, if it was that bad, he wouldn't do it, right? He would just go to featherweight. But you see like TJ being like, I ain't gonna fucking
not doing that again.
Yeah, so I feel like it actually probably is easier. I actually think it is.
I like too that Aldo was kind of joking a little bit today, where he was like, "Yeah, maybe I got the title shot a little early for some people." It's like, but I'll build my way back to it.
That's an interesting thing too, right? So if Peter Yan's the champion and beats TJ, can they give Aldo another title shot, right? Because Peter Yan kind of beat the fuck out of him,
he did.
Right?
He really did.
So it's like.
But then you start talking about those legacy fights that are there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I feel like. Whatever happens, if Aldo loses, they give him Cruz. It's a great fight.
There's a lot of them there. All right, listen. I did after the press conference today have a chance to catch up with UFC President Dana White for just a few minutes. Obviously, I'd hoped to get him earlier in the week. But I was traveling on the day that he was available. So I got him today. We kept it brief, but we hit on a number of subjects, including this week's card and what's going on in the world, and a little bit of the follow-up from last week's, because obviously he wasn't at the Fight Night event because he was on vacation. So here was my conversation with Dana White.
Well, I mean, like second time in Houston in 3 months, right? But this is the first one where you're, a partner. You got this new partnership with the Toyota Center. So what does that mean for MMA here in Houston?
It's big. Obviously, I think the economic impact on the city the last time we were here was massive, and they want us to come more. And you don't have to twist my arm to come to Houston. I love it here.
So what are we talking about? Like annual events here? Is it like that kind of partnership?
Yeah, I mean, well, what we're going to do is try to get here as many times as we can. Listen, this madness keeps going on in this country, man. We might be, Texas, Florida, Abu Dhabi, Texas, Florida, Abu Dhabi. We'll see.
Talk about
a year and a half ago, I didn't see anything coming. I'm ready for anything now. I don't care what happens.
Seems like there's no panic at all.
I have no panic. Whatever happens, I'll deal with it.
Nice. Talk about this interim title. I know you don't care what the feedback was, but I just want to know how you look at interim titles. Like, do you look at an interim title as like last resort kind of thing, or do you think, hey, maybe we could see more of this?
This interim title is awesome. You have a guy who's undefeated and a guy who beat the champion. It doesn't. You have the two best heavyweights in the world for sure, fighting for the title. And what happens is when they fight Francis, it's like the old days of the IBF versus the WBC champion, and you unify the belt. That's exactly how I look at it.
And I was going to ask you, I mean, do you see any scenario where that's not the next fight, where like maybe these guys fight somebody else, or do you feel like the unification happens
unless
next?
Something crazy happens, I can't see it happening, but the next one should be Francis and Gane.
How's your relationship with Francis now? I know he wasn't initially happy about how this all played out. Have you guys talked? And
listen, Francis and I are whatever we are. I was all Francis, and we had a little issue after before the first Stipe fight, and we've been what we are ever since. I don't dislike Francis. We'll get it done. Try to make him happy and see what we can do.
Will it be a priority to get that done quickly, you think, as fast as you can?
Yeah. We'll want to get it done as soon as possible.
I think like a dream world, if Ciryl were to happen to win, Ciryl Ngannou in Paris, the French connection, is that even something that you can even think about right now when you talk about the way the world is?
I don't know. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So who knows what the next 3 weeks is going to bring? You know, you might see Francis and Ciryl on Fight Island. You know, who knows? So we'll see.
Nice. John Jones, Stipe Miocic, that kind of leaves them on hold for a little bit, right? I know there was some mention that maybe that's a fight that could happen. Has there been any progress on those two guys fighting?
Listen, John's talking about fighting next year. So what this does is it gives us, you know, a year of great fights in the heavyweight division.
Yeah. Obviously, you were on vacation last week, but I did want to ask you about a couple things last week. Sean Strickland, guy's kind of emerging, a great career record at this point. What do you think of his performance? Is this kind of a new contender in the division?
Yeah, no, he looked great. Yeah, no, that kid's mean, nasty, and what I would consider like a real fighter. Like, this guy is a nasty dude.
He did kind of make some nasty comments afterwards. I don't know if you were alerted of that, but he said he wouldn't. In fact, he would enjoy killing somebody in the ring. Did that make it on your radar? And is that? I know you say you don't tell people what to say, but is that one where you might step in and say?
That didn't get on my radar, and nobody wants to hear somebody say that. You know what I mean? That's not. Yeah.
Don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Don't hear that. There was some progress. Him and Luke Rockhold. Does that look like that's going to be the next fight?
Yeah, that's the fight.
Is it done?
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did we announce that? Yeah, we did.
Okay, fantastic. I do want to ask you about Cheyenne Bays as well. She looked amazing with that incredible knockout, but everybody stuck on her comments afterwards about how she was broke. What do you think when you hear fighters say that? I mean, do you feel like this is a terrible look for the UFC? Or I mean, what does it make you think when you hear that?
There's a lot of people that are on their way up. She's on her way up that are broke, struggling, trying to make it. And but I'd say the flip side to that is she's 1-1 in the UFC, and she's made what, 80 grand in the last 6 months.
Not a bad start to get out of negative.
No. Listen, you got to go out. This is one of those sports you got to win. If you win, everything's good. If you lose, everything's bad. That's the nature of this beast.
I do want to ask you real quickly about Madison Square Garden. You mentioned like how things are changing rapidly. They instituted that vaccination thing. Is that off the table now? Do you think that fight can't happen at all?
As far as we know, we heard from MSG yesterday. We're good. We're good to go, and you know, we should be able to get this done.
You mentioned Abu Dhabi. I guess the relationship there is so solid. I mean, that's going to happen in October as well.
Yeah, I've been solid with Abu Dhabi for almost 15 years, and will be for the next 500 years. When I leave here, I'm going to Wyoming and Montana on a motorcycle trip. I'm riding all through those two states, and then when I get back, I'm going to Abu Dhabi to hopefully get these deals done that I'm working on right now, and I'm excited to announce them. So hopefully I can get this stuff done within the next month.
Awesome. Last one, I guess. If anybody's on the fence, UFC 265 this weekend. What's the pitch? Why should they make sure they're tuned in this weekend?
Well, I mean, I couldn't find a better heavyweight matchup than this for the title in one of the guys' hometowns in Houston, where we just had the ridiculous, event that we had 3 months ago. Whether you get here live or you watch it on TV, this weekend's going to be badass. And I love the Luke Chiesa fight too. I think that's going to be a fun fight. Pedro Munoz versus Jose Aldo. I mean, the girls went at it up there today on stage. It should be a fun night.
All right, so there was Dana White. Like I said, we just kept it brief, talked about it all. Not massive news. I was a little bit surprised to hear that he said Madison Square Garden's a go, no issue there. Not, if you'd asked me to put a bet down today of whether or not that fight card is going to happen, I would have said absolutely not. It's not going to happen. And maybe it still won't. I mean, who knows what could change. So I was a little bit surprised for him to say that that fight's not going to happen, or that fight is going to happen, because I thought for sure it wasn't. And the stuff with Strickland was. I'm actually very surprised that did not make it to. Maybe he was lying to me. Maybe somebody did. I'm a little surprised that somebody saying somebody should die in the ring. Nobody's thought to alert Dana like, hey, maybe we need to have a little conversation about this one.
I feel like Dana sees a lot more than he lets on. 1, 2, it's interesting about the New York thing, because Colby's not going to get vaccinated. So how can they put him in Madison Square Garden?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. So yeah, that's 2.
And 3. That's probably going to be the last one of those I drink, because I can feel it pretty strong.
The moonshine is kicking in. I love it. That's a good night.
I literally could just start feeling my words slur inside my head. I was like, oh boy.
Shout out again to Bobby Holmes for getting Oscar Willis slurring today. All right, also another big fight, right? Two guys that aren't going to talk trash, but Michael Chiesa, Vicente Luque. Dude, I'll be honest with you, man. It even kind of surprised me. I was kind of looking at Vicente Luque's right 9-1 in his last 10, man, and I just don't feel like he gets. I feel like his name's not mentioned at all. I mean, and I get it, man. Welterweight's super deep right now, and there's so many fights to make, and there's so much, like there's the bad blood rivalry matchups and all that stuff. So I get it why, maybe Luque's not mentioned as much as he should, but he should be mentioned, especially if he wins this one. And meanwhile, Michael Chiesa, man, I love what he had to say. That like, look, and he said it at the media day, and he said it against Day. It's like, look, I'm not out here talking about what's next, what I deserve, what comes. So he's like, I'm just gonna go out there, and I know I got to win a fight. This, to me, is an absolute banger. Obviously, I think if it's on the feet, Vicente Luque is going to be the one controlling there. Michael Chiesa obviously much improved, but I don't know that he wants to stand and trade with Vicente Luque at a kickboxing range. But Vicente did say, hey, if we go to the ground, I'm not overwhelmed there. I got skills. I'm ready to go. So, Matt, you got a strong feel on this. Like I said, it's a legit pick 'em. I did pick Michael Chiesa, but did you pick up any insight this week or going in that makes you think, oh, I know what's going to happen here?
No, I've liked the focus that I've seen from Michael Chiesa because he's usually kind of like a silly dude, right? He's always joking around and everything. I mean, yeah, he's playing video games on Embedded and whatnot, but I mean that's taking your mind off of stuff.
That's
but,
right.
Yeah, like at the press conference, he was like real subdued, kind of. I mean, like he seems pretty focused, and I think he knows he's in for a hell of a fight against a striker that can knock him out. Just as easily as he can take Luque down. So it's like you said, I think it's going to come down to who is Luque keeping it standing. I mean, even if it does go to the ground, though, I mean, he's been training with, Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert Burns is a freaking monster on the ground. So how much of that will come into play as well? Because if he can keep Chiesa off of him, that's going to spell the end to the fight, I think. And I can see him getting him out of there. But, man, if Chiesa can control the fight on the ground, or even just keep pressing against the fence, it'll be a long night for Luque.
And either one of those guys that wins, man, they need to be kind of pushed up into that upper echelon of the division, right, and getting some of those names. Because I mean, I understand there's some rematches we need to see and all that, but it seems like the same names are fighting each other over and over again at the top of the division. So we got to get away from that. Speaking of Gilbert Burns, man, I got to say it was pretty funny. He was there today. He was getting a lot of love from the crowd, which was cool. And he also, I don't think I've ever seen this before. So like, he's on the floor and there's people in the stands above him, and so they're like, Derrick. So what they end up doing is passing their phone down to him so that he could then turn around and take a selfie with them behind it, and then he gave the phone back up to the top. I thought that was a good sport of him, man, to be willing to do that. But it was cool to see the love that he was getting. I'm obviously a big Gilbert Burns fan, man. He's one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
I do think it would be funny if they hand him his phone and he just walked off with it or something. That'd have been pretty good. Oscar, what about you? You got a lean in this one way or the other? I mean, like I said, it's kind of a pick 'em fight. Have you picked up on anything this week?
I haven't picked up on anything, but I do think Chiesa is going to win. I think he's just if you can out-grapple Neil Magny for 25 minutes, you can out-grapple Vicente Luque for 25 minutes, for 15 minutes. I just think his grappling at welterweight.
That was an impressive performance, man. I know you didn't get to finish, and so maybe it wasn't exciting against some people, but that's not an easy guy to finish.
No, Neil Magny's notoriously just good at making people look shit. So and Chiesa looked great that night and just completely out-wrestled him. And I think if you see that performance, it's hard to think Luque will be able to shrug him off.
Right.
I think if Vicente wants to win, he needs to just come out swinging.
I agree. Angela Hill, Tisha Torres, they had the I guess, is it safe to say they were the highlight of the press conference day? I don't know if it was a low light or highlight. It was the most interesting, at least. Like, it was the only real, beef that we had of the day.
Well, I was just like, how
you were not a fan of the bickering.
I was just laughing at how we were talking about it earlier, and I was like, should I say that on recording or should I just leave that alone? But
up to you, my man. Up to you.
I just felt like it was really it was kind of real white woman energy from Tisha. Do you know what I mean? Where she's like,
okay, so he is gonna go there. Okay, all right.
Someone was like, oh, is it personal? She's like, well, I just feel like, and then it fucking went on for 25 minutes.
And that is exactly what he said earlier. If you were afraid that we don't tell it like it is on here, no, that is exactly what he said earlier.
A laundry list of complaints, and then Andrew's like, well, I guess it is personal. She's like, I'm actually not finished, and then carried on talking. It's like, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was it just came out of nowhere, and I just found it kind of, I'm sexy. I'm great. You're jealous of my body. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Like how we got there was my favorite part of it. Like after we got there and then she kept going on, I was like, all right, this is enough. But how she like kind of slowly worked her way into it, and then it just exploded.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, right. She's basically like, no, I mean, there's.
It was the equivalent of like a text message being like, I'm not mad, and you're like going cool, and then it was like, but actually, and then like a big massive like text message you receive. I just feel like that's what.
Oh, that's funny.
But I'm not trying to. Well, I guess I am trying to show it, but I mean it was still like interesting, and I thought Angela was kind of almost taken aback, right? I think Angela was a bit like, damn, dude.
Whoa. Yeah, because she was just like, well, there's not beef. I just wanted you to get the fight signed. Now that's signed. Like, we're good. And it's like, oh, no, there's beef.
Yeah.
There's definitely beef.
I'm not saying that I hate you. I'm just saying that I think this, and this about you, okay?
It's funny. I will say I did pick Tisha Torres, and I love Angela Hill. Man, I love her as a person. Obviously, she's a heck of a character. She's a fun fighter as well. Certainly they've come a long way since their first fight. I mean, they both are completely different fighters at this point. But I just feel like Tisha Torres' ability to grapple and slow things down are going to be problematic for Angela Hill.
Yeah, I don't. Skill set wise, I just don't think they match up very well. Tisha's very good, She's a pretty good fighter. So.
Yeah, she had that run of losses, but then you go back and look at who that run of losses was against. I mean, she was facing killers, foreign champs. As she said, she's the only one that's faced all the strawweight champs. She's had nothing but killers, and she does seem to be in a good place right now. Like, she kind of openly admitted, right? Like,
that was kind of crazy the other day. She just like mentioned multiple times how like fucked mentally she is.
Yeah.
She didn't say it like that. Yeah. She said it a bit more, sort of gently, but she said that she struggles really like with mental challenges a lot. I was sort of taken aback by that.
Yeah. She started to kind of open up about it a little bit more. And I think it's good. I think it's good that people are talking about. You see that kind of trend of people being more open about like how they're dealing with stuff. And dude, that's honestly, man, it is what honestly interests me so much in this sport, man. It's the psychology of the people that do it, man. It is. I mean, we talk about it a lot, but when you're around these athletes, man, the fighting is fun, man. Like, the stuff that happens in the cage is fun, but it is legit the highest of highs and lowest of lows, and like, man, people go into like depression afterwards. Yeah. You know what I mean? When you come up short, and it's like,
especially people like Ronda, right? Who like,
man.
it's their entire. I didn't mean it as a joke, man. You heartless bastard.
I mean, listen.
But it's like people who their identity is I am a fighter.
Right.
When they lose, I mean, it can fuck them up,
Yeah,
I mean,
it
listen,
really does.
like it's just like the different ways people handle things. I mean, hell, just look at this is one thing I kind of took away from the press conference today was just like the contrast where you have Michael Chiesa who's talking about I'm moving up in weight because I perform so much better. Right next to him, you have Jose Aldo. I'm moving down in weight because I want to extend my career, and it's just like you have that, and then you have, of course, like the bickering back and forth, the talking about the mental health. You got Ciryl Gane over here laughing and joking about everything, like even through translation. It's just like so much contrast of emotions and feelings and everything, and it's just one of those things that kind of gets overlooked.
And then you got Song Yadong just sitting there, just like offering nothing,
dude. Well, Song
literally
Yadong,
one line.
Song Yadong got one question today, and listen, we'll just to peel back the curtain a little bit. As media, we always kind of talk to each other just to make sure that everybody's covered. We don't want somebody to show up and not get any questions. You know what I mean?
I've got a question for you about that, actually.
Yes.
So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Was that always the way, or is that a new trend? Because
it's become more of a focus, I think, in recent times. But it was kind of always a thing. I think it became a thing for me one time. I wasn't at it, but I remember, and I can't remember what fight it was, but like Damian Maia flew from Brazil for an on-sale press conference. When they do the on-sale press conferences, and didn't get a single question. Yeah. Flew from Brazil to the United States and didn't get a single question. I'm like, I just don't want that to happen. So to me, it's always been kind of a thing where I kind of look out for it. But now I do see that like more people, I think, are like, all right, who you got? What are we gonna do?
It seems like the media is much more collaborative these days. I feel like
that's definitely true, man. There was a time when like everybody was at each other's throats and everybody hated each other, and it was all like cutthroat. Now I think it's
Oscar arrived on the scene, and now everybody.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. We're all unified under Oscar Willis. That's what we think.
Except the MMA JA. Fuck you. I remember Jacksonville, you piece of shit.
Texas prickly pear. It's really Texas sunshine, moonshine. It is fantastic. Just want to shout out to that. All right.
I regret saying that.
He didn't mean it. It's the moonshine.
Let him go. It's only entertainment.
Too funny. By the way, so yeah, what I was saying on Song Yadong, one question, and it was Mark Monday actually, who was like, is this bantamweight the best division in the sport right now?
The treasurer of the MMA JA.
100%. And Song answered in English, which was awesome. He's like, Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was dope.
And that was it.
He got a big reaction.
Did
He was
get a big
like,
reaction. Everybody's like, whoa, did he answer in English? Like, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
I like Song Yadong. I think actually that's a bit of a banger of a
That's
fight.
a hell of a fight. And it's two guys that are coming off losses, but it's two guys that are coming off losses, one to a legend in Dominic Cruz and the other in Kyler Phillips, who I think is incredibly talented and very exciting.
Dude, that division is sick.
Dude, it is. It's one thing when you can talk like, oh, man, that top 10 is all good. But when you're like, that top 20 is all good. You know what I mean? That's how, like...
Dude, I remember when Costa and Yanez fought, like, a couple of weeks ago. I was like, dude, those guys should be in the top 15. How are they not ranked? And then you go in the top 15, you're like, oh, actually, these guys are pretty... Like, Marab is just chilling at number 10. He'd probably be a champion at fucking welterweight, you know what I mean? Like, well, actually, maybe not. But anyway.
Oh, I think so. Dude, I think Marab's a future title challenger. I think
he'll
fight for a title at some point.
I think he's a champion.
I do, too.
I'd say he's a stud.
I always say, like, I usually stop short of saying I think somebody's definitely going to be a champion because it just depends on the matchup you get when you get there, right? Habib was the guy that I was like, that dude's definitely going to win the UFC
So
title.
what the fuck is Marab going to do if Sterling is the champion?
I don't know.
Just realised that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Knock off his, potential contenders.
That's it.
That's pretty much it.
It's tough. That's a tough one.
He's a small dude, Marab.
Oh, yeah. Like, talk about maybe go down to 25?
I don't know if he could get
Dude,
there.
he's a fire hydrant of a human being.
Fun fact, I once went to a water park in Vegas and Marab and Sterling were there and we played tag. And I'll tell
Texas prickly pear. It's a fantastic...
you, it's true. That's a true story. And I'll tell you what else. Marab has great cardio. I was fucking gassed and he would not stop running.
No, you couldn't keep up with him? No.
Dude, it was so not like we were playing tag and I was like, Marab, I'm tired. He's like, no, we keep going. And it's like, I'm getting, like bullied me. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Tag.
Yeah, honest to God, tag. Like, so they
Tag.
had these floats on Lake Las Vegas, like these like flotation things, like an amusement park made of floats. Fuck, I am drunk. And yeah, they were running around playing tag for an hour. It was really weird.
Did you play for an hour?
Yeah. I mean, I hit a lot, but yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, and then like my friends were there, and they knew like who they were, but they were trying to be cool, not to embarrass
Right.
me and stuff. It's really weird. So like, oh hi, Aljamain, you're fighting for a world title soon. Let's play tag. It was sick. And then, dude, when he won the title. This is a fucking super weird tangent. When he won the title, I went to interview him about it the next day, and I just walked in and I was like, "Hey, man," and I just put my hand on him and I went, "Tag," and then he was just like,
That is hilarious. That was an unexpected story. Once again, Texas prickly pear. It is Texas sunshine.
"Dude, so you sponsor this podcast, you get your name read out 3,000 times."
Well, when it gets that kind of reaction, you definitely do. You definitely do. All right, listen. I don't think any of us are expecting this to be a blockbuster, big selling pay-per-view, right? I mean, but I don't know. I will say overall, my excitement level for the fights, I'm not expecting this to be like I said, a big one. I don't know that our traffic will be like off the charts amazing. I don't think the UFC is going to reap in the massive bucks or anything like that. But my excitement level for the fights themselves, I think the main card is going to be. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think this is one. This might be one of those ones where you go like, hey, can we get a couple people over to chip in? Maybe I don't want to put the whole 70 down on this one myself. Maybe I get back. It's funny because I always hear people say, oh, this might be one where I go watch it at the bar. I definitely spend more than $70 if I go to the bar. So I'm better off just staying home and watching it myself. But I don't know, man. I think this is going to be worthwhile. And again, like you said, if Derrick Lewis pops out with that, some kind of it's going to be quite the scene here.
Well, also let's not forget, we've had fans back for 4 events. This will be the 4th one with fans, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, I felt like every pay-per-view with fans has had at least a few holy shit moment. First of all, every pay-per-view's had a fucking nasty leg break or an arm break or something. So someone's losing a limb this week. But I think I can see fights in this like Fiziev versus Bobby Green.
Fiziev versus Green. I was going to say, but once we wrapped up the main card, that's the prelim I'm so excited about stylistically. And I think Fiziev's the dude.
I want him to fight Justin Gaethje tomorrow. I need to see that fight. But I think I can just look at this card and I can see multiple crowd standing moments.
Yep. Completely agree with that, man. And that to me is the biggest one. I mean, you go down to the early ones. I mean, Mendes Cop, who hasn't really panned out, I think, the way a lot of people thought he would here. I mean, he's in action again. Miles Johns, he likes to bring it against Anderson. I mean, I do think top to bottom there's going to be singles. I'll put my homerism on the table. I'll be pulling for Jessica Penne. Obviously, you got a chance to work a couple of cards. CFSC, baby. We got that Cage Fury Fighting Championship love.
But she does the pose against the cage, and she looks all cute.
That's the iconic pose, right? The little just leaning.
She
against the
hasn't fought
cage.
for ages, Karen.
No, I
right?
think she was retired basically, right?
Yeah,
or at least on the
seems like
verge of walking away.
I remember
it's a big one.
She did that. She did a social media post that I remember thinking like, "Wow, dude! Like, not many fighters have actual self-awareness."
Right.
Which, I mean, they have to not.
Yeah.
But she posted. She was like, I understand. I'm just not who I was. Like, I'm no longer as good as I was, and I'm okay with that. I was like, damn, dude, that's pretty enlightening.
I remember that post, dude. It's like you said, it's enlightened. It's sad, to hear somebody have to weigh in on their own, self-awareness like that and just be like, I'm not that anymore. But it's crazy, dude. How about the fact that Ed Herman's on the card? Man, I swear to God, I think he's 40 now. He's on a 3-fight win streak, which is insane.
The best thing about it, the best story I've ever heard about Ed Herman is when remember like he lost out on a fight at the Apex and they called him to be like, we got your new opponent, and he was already like balls deep in a bottle of tequila.
He was like, I'm drunk, dude. I'm not coming back and fighting right now.
Your fight fell out an hour ago. Yeah, sucks.
That is amazing. Oh man, I think it's gonna be a fun card. We'll have covered, of course. If you like what you're hearing and you want to get more of it, you want to hear that post-fight show, that and a half. Check on over patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow for as little as $3 a month. You can help support the show, which we certainly appreciate that, and of course get that exclusive content as well. That's patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. But listen, if you can't do that, if you can just take a second and just log in wherever you're listening and make sure you rate us and review us, all that good stuff helps us get people to hear the podcast, which is entertaining even when my man Cold Coffee isn't around. Guys, I did want to get you out on one thing outside UFC 265 that I'll be honest, man, I was pretty excited about. The return of Chad Mendes, returning from retirement, but not to fight in the UFC, to fight in BKFC. From what I was told, is the most lucrative contract he's ever signed. Obviously, I didn't get hard dollar figures, but I was told that in terms of value, it is more money than he's ever had on a single contract in his life, in his UFC career as well. He did have a couple fights left on his UFC deal when he retired. But he went to the UFC and said, hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to be released from this so I can go pursue this opportunity. My understanding is the UFC was like, hey, absolutely.
What about Ramonde asking about CM Punk today, by the way?
That was pretty funny.
Fucking out of nowhere. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
That was pretty funny. I haven't talked to Punk yet, but it's I did talk to Ramonde a little bit about this last night, guys. I don't know, man, I won't pretend that like I have inside Punk knowledge, but just in my time, like hanging out with him when we were at CFCC events,
fucking bang.
I don't think he wants to come back. But I guess Ramonde said it's like done.
I think they're offering him fucking. Well, I think he just broke some news there, but I think they're.
Well, I mean, what does he know? He was asking about a press conference.
No, yeah, I admit, dude. I think they're just offering him fucking bang. He's like 40, isn't he? Like CM Punk's in his 40s.
I think late 30s. I don't know. I'll see him next week. CFFC.
I saw Mike Jackson downtown. I was like, you didn't even beat CM Punk.
Talk trash to him. That's so funny. That was such a weird situation. But yeah, man,
Dude, that was a rough night, wasn't it? Right. I remember watching CM Punk. I'm like, oh my god, this guy's not great at doing this.
He had a lot of stuff going on in that fight, man. There's so much going on. But it's I'll see Punk next week. I guess if it's not announced, I'll see what I can find out. I was joke that
dude, that would be the funniest shit ever if an MMA journalist who notoriously doesn't watch pro wrestling broke the biggest pro wrestling story. Dude, please,
exactly.
If CM Punk's listening, please let Morgan break that. That'd be fucking hilarious.
That would actually be pretty funny.
Helwani would fucking kill himself.
I was actually thinking about if it's not announced and then it's not official, which I guess it's got to be pretty close, right? Because I think the event's at the end of the month.
They're doing a show in Chicago and. United Center, they sold it out based on the rumor that he's signing there. So he's a fucking pretty like. Dude,
it's interesting. Oh no, he's well. So I'll see him next week for CFFC 99. We'll be in
touch him
Tunica,
to see
Mississippi.
if he's.
But I figured like even though now here's the thing is I don't know enough about the business to really like be. Intricate with it, but I thought just dropping hints on the broadcast or just do
that would be fun because I think
even putting in some extra workouts looks like just something.
I think their show's got a name, dude. So that would be fucking hilarious. Let me find out what the name is. But yeah, you could like just like keep saying the name.
Little
stuff
subtle
like,
things here.
I tell you what, I actually just the fact that he's going to be commentating on that with that rumor being so big, the views are probably going to be a little bit higher than normal.
So I will say, I won't say who the media outlet was, but I know a media outlet reached out to CFFC Brass to be like, hey, is he still commentating that event?
Really?
And yeah, and Rob Haydak, the president of CFFC, I thought it was hilarious because he screenshot it and sent it back to me. He's like, sure will, and have a big announcement. Tune in.
Dude, it's funny how like different media sort of worlds behave, but like the WWE, they're so like they have to be so they fly their talent to like a different city. And then we'll drive them to like 5 hours away so that
keep them away.
Because people spot them in the airport at the location of the show and be like, oh, they're here.
And even the talent doesn't know. Backstage, they don't know.
Yeah, like fuck, I sound like Jose Youngs now. But there's like there's a WrestleMania, the Hardy Boys. Actually, no.
Abort.
I heard myself speak. I heard myself. I was like, dude, who the fuck am I?
Oh my god, that was so funny. That reminded me of the Case Kiefer gaffe at the press conference where he thought Albert Tumna was like Robbie Lawler, and he was like, I'm sorry.
Dude, do you know what? Talking of media gas, I've done that. Like, so for inside baseball, for people who don't know, so in the media room, you're backstage, there's fights happening, and then while the fight's happening, they bring the winner of the last fight back, and you interview them. And these two fucking prelim guys, I don't know who they were, but they, I care. But they brought them back out of order. So I asked the guy, because I wasn't even watching his fucking fight.
Well, you can't sometimes. You're so busy, yeah.
Yeah, so I asked him, I was like, oh, is it nice to get the submission win or some shit question? I was like, dude, it was like, I won by decision. I was like, you're not the guy, I won by submission. My bad.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and at the time I was a nobody, so everyone looked at me like, who's this fucking jamoke? Like, this fucking, yeah.
That's great. So everybody's just fired up about Chad Mendes returning his eye.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. That was the start of that, right?
I'm so sorry, dude. So this fucking shit is strong.
Do you know, it's good.
To answer your question, though, I'm excited.
Get this back on track, man, please.
No, I'm excited. I'm actually intrigued to see it because, I mean, he didn't exactly hide the fact that he was coming back.
Right.
Like, if you follow his social media, he was freaking going super hard in the gym. You're like, okay, you're just not going to, your 24-hour fitness to get a little sweat in. Like, he was doing some real shit.
Putting in work.
So, but the fact that it's BKFC was interesting to me because, like we were kind of talking about in the green room before we came on here, right?
Yep.
Talking about how what does a win or a loss in BKFC really mean? If he's getting a bag to show up, good for him.
Exactly, right? Like, who cares what your record is? If you get, dude, it's so funny because I remember when he came back from. I remember when he came back and did the grappling event, the quintet, and I was like, this is gonna fuel your like desire for competition. You're gonna want to come back, right? And he's like, absolutely not. Like, I'm good. I'm like, you're going to come back, Chad Mendes. You've done this your whole life.
I think the fact that he's going to BKFC is only surprising because he seems to me like he could still be a contender at featherweight in the UFC. He seems like he's, he lost to Volkanovski, who's now the champion.
Yep.
It's not, it's.
And he's a wrestler.
Yeah, and not to disparage the promotion of BKFC, but I feel like that's usually the place people go to when they're perhaps at the climax of their career.
Sure.
So
Chad could absolutely step back into the UFC and be competitive right now.
100%.
Like, can you? And there's great fights for him as well.
Yeah, I've heard some other names. I'm supposed to talk to David Feldman, I think, next week and maybe get caught up. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't know exactly where all their money's coming from right now.
Russian oligarchs money laundering.
But I'm telling you, man, they're talking to some names right now, man. They're trying to get some names. So again, nothing signed, nothing sealed, nothing delivered. But I think they're making smart. These are good moves, man. They're making smart moves.
It's just crazy, man. Because the combat. And I believe I'm going to say something now that I really know I'm pissed. But I prefer BKFC as a product to like most other MMA organizations.
Interesting.
Like, I prefer watching a BKFC show to Bellator. I prefer watching BKFC. Like, maybe part of that's because it's like a bit of a shit show, but
that's part of it.
Yeah, but I don't know how you make money in this space if you're not the UFC. Like, it just seems like such an investment of cash.
So tough.
And I just can't see Rachel Ostovich versus PVC.
Yep.
I can't imagine that made them money. You know, because I know they pay
They
Pedro
pay both of
a
them very well.
shit
Yeah,
ton of money.
I think they're looking at it right now as like, hey, you kind of look at it as a loss leader, right? Like you invest money knowing that you're not going to make it right now, but you're getting the headlines, you're getting the traction, you're getting people paying attention, and the hopes is that turns into something down the road, right? Because you're absolutely right. I mean, when you hear the dollar figures that are being floated around, dude, how do you make that back? Like you'd have to have like UFC level pay-per-view buys to make money back. You know what I mean? So it's tough, but they're making moves. Hey, if you're gonna do it, man, like go out swinging, like go out and make a play at it versus just like we're kind of grinding along and we never become anything. So be interesting to see. But I was glad to see Chad Mendes. I've always liked Chad a lot, man. And I kind of knew. I mean, obviously he walked away so young, and I was shocked when he walked away because, like you said, lost to Volkanovski. I mean, like come on, that dude. You know, I think we all saw what was coming with Volkanovski, and you know, you look at what he's done since. So
and coincidentally, Chad Mendes has one of my favorite gifts ever on the internet of the Jose Aldo fight. Obviously, he's fighting this weekend. It's one of my favorite gifts. I have it saved on like my computer and like my tablet just because I love seeing it because it baffles my mind so much. He hit Aldo with this uppercut that was so clean and perfect. Oh, yeah, and Aldo was just like, like he just ate it and kept going forward. I was like, how did that happen?
Actually, I tell you what, that's one thing about MMA. I think because the machine of UFC rolls on so much, we don't, unlike boxing, have this reflection on stuff as perhaps we should. Like our legends die early and we never really talk about them, but like Aldo versus Mendes too,
dude, that's
one of the best fights of all time, and
really
it's never mentioned.
That's one of the greatest fights I've ever seen.
With Conor ringside, just like obviously I have to mention that Conor's ringside, like staring at it.
Contractually obligated to mention that. It's okay, we understand. Dude, I'll never forget. One thing I'll always stand out to me about that fight is there was a late shot after the end of round one, but it's because it was so loud in there, you literally could not hear the bell. I mean, I'm right next to it, and you could not hear the bell. And so it was like a late shot, but it was like no ill intention.
It was a banger of a fight.
How loud it was in there, man. That was unbelievable. So, good, man. I'm happy to see Chad Mendes back, and he's supposed to fight in October, I believe, is when he's going to make his debut. I'll be tuned in. I'm excited about it. So, all right, listen, UFC 265, again, I think it's going to be heavy on entertainment value, even if it's not heavy on star power. And if Derrick Lewis can find a way to get it done, Houston's going to go absolutely bonkers. In the meantime, we got maybe some frosty beverages to consume, and we got to get ready for weigh-ins early in the morning, so we don't want to keep you here too long. So we'll just take a walk out, maybe pour another moonshine, and just tell you, thanks for listening.